E7B. I just something up. Beers.
Call the meeting to order. Will the clerk please read the meeting statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the public and the press on January 14th and July 29th, 2022, and was posted at the municipal building in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-7.
Thank you. Would you all please stand and give me a salute to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Vice President Bucieri. Here. Councilmember Fury.
Here.
Councilmember Lee.
Here.
Councilmember Shortway.
Here.
Council President Rizzuto.
Here. All members have been given copies of this list. Any questions on it?
I have a question.
No,
None.
I do. Ben Schaefer Recreation, $3,642.80 for playground mulch. What account was that taken from? It doesn't really list it.
I'll have to check on that, get back.
Okay, also, looking at Harold Pelt, I know we have a number of ongoing projects.
Mhm.
Some of them are pretty substantial. One for $16,942, and I just wanted to know if you had an idea of projects that these are being tagged.
He had several of them that he was working on, one right after the other. One could be the trail that we did from behind the building over to
Is
Hot
it-
Creek Drive, and then we had the road work that he was doing.
Is it possible to have in the designation a way of defining which particular project?
I thought they were putting that in there.
Well, it doesn't.
Not in there, not in there.
No, the only thing they have is the account number, and unless you have some type of a key,
I understand,
you kind of,
understand.
thank you.
Take care of that.
Then we have the comments from the mayor, please.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Council President. Members of the council and members of the public. It is with great pleasure that I announce that after 926 days, or over 2.5 years of serving our senior center attendees, only less than fully personal grab and go meals. Once again, the heavily attended Vernon Township Senior Center will reopen to serving our seniors via the full service indoor sit-down dining method. On March the 14th, 2020, due to the COVID crisis, the state and the county directed that full service indoor sit-down dining be discontinued at our senior center, as well as other senior centers throughout our state where meals were provided through the state and county programs. This service is returning because the state and county has finally changed their COVID influence policy on indoor sit-down dining at congregate nutrition centers. Returning to full service indoor sit-down dining is a good thing and a very important thing to our seniors. It's good and important because our senior population benefits not just from the meals served at our senior center, but like all of us, they also benefit from the needed mental, emotional, and physical stimulation that we humans get from socializing and interacting with each other. So to our seniors, your mayor and your council say, welcome back. On tonight, I also highlight the fact that under the leadership of former Mayor Harry Shortway and Chief of Police Dan Young, Vernon's Police Department started this Coffee with a Cop program. They started this in 2019. This program has been widely successful in bringing together over coffee, Vernon police officers and members of the community that they serve. This has achieved the important task of allowing police officers and members of the community to discuss issues and to learn more about each other in a relaxed environment. And now Chief Dan Young has chosen to expand this program in a way that will enable the Vernon Police Department to use this creative program as a community outreach initiative that will help younger children gain relationships with and feel more comfortable around their local police officers. These young individuals will have the opportunity to drink hot cocoa with local police officers and to ask officers any questions or voice any concerns that they may have. This newly expanded program, which will be called Cocoa with a Cop, will begin this Friday, September the 30th. To maximize the opportunity for police officers to interact with as many young individuals as possible, Chief Young has worked close with the Vernon PAL, the Vernon Township Education Association, and the Vernon Township Recreation Department to include his first Cocoa with a Cop event as part of those organizations' movie night, which will be held at the Vernon PAL building on Friday, September the 30th. Let me hasten to note that this is but just the latest example of how various outstanding Vernon organizations and volunteers come together on a regular basis to serve the best interests of Vernon families. I end my comments by sharing with the public comments that I have previously shared with the council relative to my support for resolution number 22-235 on tonight's agenda. Among the many things that make Vernon Township such a great place in which to live and raise a family and to visit are the 14 lake communities that are located partially or completely within our township's borders. While most of these communities are private communities with their own homeowners or community associations, they are still a vibrant and essential part of what makes our town the beautiful, attractive, and compelling place to visit that it is. It is for these and other key reasons that I have asked Business Administrator Volker to take the lead on the mayor and council's efforts to create the kind of public-private partnership that will present our lake communities with opportunities to benefit from an economic standpoint, as well as from a quality of life standpoint, from the very strong relationship that the municipality has developed with the Highlands Water Protection and Planning Council. On September the 14th, Business Administrator Volker took a major step towards the achievement of this objective when he arranged for him and me to host a meeting with key members of the Highlands Water Protection and Planning Council and representatives of some of our municipalities' lake communities. The key members in attendance were from the Highlands Water Protection Council, included their regional planner and land preservation coordinator, their planning manager, and their science manager. Also at this important meeting was the senior project manager for the organization Princeton Hydro, a professional service firm which since 1998 has led 10,000 plus water resource projects for over 2,000 clients, producing award-winning environmental planning, concept, and solutions. The value and importance of having a key representative from Princeton Hydro at this meeting rests on the fact that this firm has developed the scope of work for planning studies, which enable the Highlands region located towns of Ridgewood, Rockaway, West Milford, and Byram to earn planning grants from the Highlands Water Protection and Planning Council. Another important factor is that Princeton Hydro is so confident of their work that they sign agreements with Highlands regions located towns in which, number one, they don't get paid unless their scope of work submission is approved for a grant by the Highlands Council. And number two, all of the payment that they receive comes totally from the grant. This allows us to get these important tasks accomplished without using any local taxpayer funds. As an outcome of the September the 14th meeting, Vernon Township plans to sign an agreement with Princeton Hydro for them to prepare a scope of work submission, which will aid the municipality and each of our lake communities in our joint efforts to, number one, to identify, to quantify, and prioritize watershed-based factors and the lake-based factors that cause excessive richness of nutrients in lakes or other bodies of water, resulting in a dense growth of plant life and the death of animal life from a lack of oxygen. And number two, to identify the watershed management measures needed to address general causes of water quality impairments. And number three, to identify the relative costs of the recommended watershed management measures. An additional value of having this type of study completed is that it opens the door to the municipality and to our lake communities to opportunities for grant funding to implement the recommended and needed wastewater management improvements. Tonight's agenda contains resolution number 22-235 that was prepared by Business Administrator Volker, which would provide me as mayor the approval to sign an agreement with Princeton Hydro for them to prepare and submit the appropriate scope of work documents to the Highlands Council that are necessary to aid our municipality and each of our lake communities in our wastewater management improvement efforts. I respectfully ask that the council approve this resolution. The council president and council members, that ends my formal comments for tonight. Thank you.
Mr. President, could I ask the mayor a question? Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I was just wondering, are you going to follow through with the agreement that Chuck Volker was going to be suspended?
We had no agreement that Chuck Welker was going to be suspended.
It was your suggestion that he be suspended, not ours.
No, well, I made a compromise proposal to the
Okay,
council.
are you going to follow through? on that?
But we never came to an agreement. The council did not accept my proposal.
We did accept what you were going to do with suspending him and you didn't.
Well, when I make a proposal, you can't accept half of it. You gotta accept all of it. You did not accept my proposal. What the council did, the council took some of my comments and put together a resolution. That I quite frankly think you took some of my statements out of context.
I think
You
that-
said, let me finish.
Okay.
You said, for example, the fact that the mayor asked that the report not be made public is your judgment meant that the mayor wanted to hide the report from the public. I'm not so sure why you said that. When I said very specifically that the fact that I did not want that report public because of the fact that that report singled out, in addition to Mr. Volker, 3 other individuals who the report said had the information, had the knowledge, and had the opportunity to ensure that that property was not sold. And I knew that the individual that the council were aiming at was Mr. Volker, and there was no need for these other individuals to be collateral damage.
It seems to be a pattern now that you've been disrespecting the resolutions that the council has been putting forward by not getting behind the name of the pump track. You decide that that's not something that you're going to get along with, so you decide not to follow through with it. And you're the one that came up with the discipline for council member, Business Administrator Volker, and yet you're not following out. Is there anything that you are going to do that you say you're going to do?
Well, yes, I'm going to respond to you just like I'm responding to you now.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
all right?
And that's all you're going to do? You're not going to suspend them?
Oh, I'm not, we have no agreement to do that.
On the contrary, I think we did, Mayor.
I didn't see an agreement.
Yeah, I think the was in the proclamation. Most proclamations that come from the council are a decision that the council arrives at, and i.e. budget. Your budget, this is your budget, and we hand it over to you, and it's approved by whatever vote. On this particular situation, the council received your letter I guess it was 8/3/22, where where you provided a list of items and background information as to what you wanted to have done. When we broke it down, and I think we spent quite a bit of time in closed session reviewing that letter to develop the proclamation. The only thing that we didn't accept, and not because we didn't want to, it was simply a fact that handing out that report in a way, by not releasing it, was something that we couldn't do because it was funded by taxpayer dollars. However, what we did do is we did take into consideration your concerns about your employees. And we are arranging to have a redacted version of that report made available. My concern, sir, is that during the course of your deliberations with us and your comments, you continually point out your worry about your individual employees. And I believe at one point, you even mentioned that you were concerned that the people under our employ would not be happy, or they would be afraid. I'm looking for the statement. They would be concerned about being called out because they were feeling that if they chose to do something, bringing information forward, that it might be to their detriment. And nothing could have been further from the truth. Maybe you can find it. Maggie. But the point that I'm making is that the ultimate arbiter of this whole situation is the taxpayer. These are the people that I'm worried about. These are the people that I think you should be worried about, and I'm sure you are. But, they're concerned that there was an issue. It was resolved, but there was significant wrongdoing to get there.
Number 5, eliminate the expressed growing sense of fear on the part of many of the municipal staff that they will be fired by the council if the council does not like them for some reason.
Which is totally
That's
false.
extreme.
First, the council
That's a very
has,
extreme.
Happen.
first, the council
happen.
has no ability to fire anyone unless we go through a lengthy process. And what we were hoping was that you would be able to short track that process by exercising the powers that were given to you under the Faulkner form of government. But the fact remains is that the individual taxpayer has concerns. They had concerns, as did many of us. So what we tried to do, take your recommendations, take your proposal, take your compromise, and include it in a proclamation and accept it. I.e., the only thing we didn't accept, because we couldn't, was the report. But everything else was what you wanted. If perhaps you didn't like the way something was stated, well, okay, I suppose, I've sat up here and a number of other council members have sat here and haven't been happy with the way you've mentioned things about the council. But I think what the council has done was exactly what you wanted. And now for it to be thrown back at us in terms of being rebuffed, I don't know, you kind of put it right back into a situation where we had hoped to avoid it. Yes, this was your responsibility. And yes, we gave it back to you. And yes, you were the one who has the responsibility to handle this. In terms of handling your personnel, which we all recognize. So I thank Mr. Lynch for bringing this up, but I don't think you can simply walk away from this by saying, not going to do anything. This is the way it is. I really don't know where you want us to go on this. Now, council can take other actions, but we're trying to work with you as much as possible on this. So I guess, I can only say is,
Well, I made a compromise proposal to the council. The council never spoke to me about it. They didn't accept it.
I
Let me
think
finish.
proclamation-
Your proclamation was nothing more than just a long statement of your opinions. That's all. And if the council feels that there are other actions that they should take them. If the council feel that there are other actions that they can take them.
So you proposed a compromise, Mayor, to refund the taxpayer what was lost via a suspension of pay for Mr. Volker. That was your compromise to us.
My compromise was a package in terms of how we should handle this. That was
I understand that.
And you can't, if you want to choose to pick portions of that
Well, I didn't.
as you did, you can go ahead and do that. I have no issue with that. Go ahead and do it.
I think that's called negotiation, but my point is the council, you're one person, you're one government elected official, we're a body. We can't make decisions on our own. We make decisions together here at this table. And I think that's kind of the point that Mr. Rizzuto was trying to make with the resolution. It was a resolution that we worked on together and we voted unanimously to support it. You disagree with the one part that we did not,
I don't.
I'd like to finish that we did not, you disagree with making that report public for the reasons you stated. And I understand that that was a discussion. Mr. Rizzuto addressed that with the redaction. So with that report is going to be out there eventually at some point, and the taxpayer is out that money. So rather than continue to negotiate with us, concede that point and allow the suspension to occur as you suggested, not our suggestion, but as you suggested, so the taxpayer can get that relief back because you did not get everything that you wanted in your proposal, you're going to withdraw it and not negotiate with us.
The time,
That's kind of how, that's
but
what
that's okay if you want to say it. The time,
you're saying.
okay, the time to negotiate is when I sent you the proposal.
So you
Just
determine when we negotiate.
let me finish, please. The time to negotiate is when I sent you the proposal. The council did not utter one word back to me. The next thing that I knew, the council had a resolution. So that's your resolution. That's your point of view. And we never had an agreement. So if in fact the council wants to do other things, let the council do other
Okay,
things.
well, here's our compromise. Are you gonna agree?
Don't agree to what?
There's our compromise.
No, you can't,
We're a public body. We need to.
well, you are a public body, Madam Vice President, but we are not going to negotiate like this. You're not going to simply put your resolution out there, which was, I'm not so sure.
You can.
Nobody's ever seen a resolution like that. And then come in and say, oh, you didn't,
Property.
and say you didn't do what I want you to do. So we have no agreement. So to answer, I actually answered the question to Mr. Lynch, and I'll answer the same for you. No, I'm not.
Thank you.
All right?
We hear anything from?
No comment.
No comment.
Harry and Mike, you have nothing to say?
No, I was unprepared for any kind of discussion like this tonight, and I feel any personnel matter should have been done in executive.
It's correct, and I feel the same way.
We had the same thing at the open meeting, last meeting. We had a resolution to talk about.
A resolution. I
Right.
said I had no comment. I have no comment.
My,
I'm
my,
not prepared.
my vote speaks for itself. I voted in the affirmative. It's more appropriate to discuss this in executive session,
There will be an executive session.
and that's when we'll discuss it.
All members of the council have received a copy of the minutes of our executive session of September 12th. May I have a motion to approve the September 12 minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Bucieri. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second it.
Is there any question, any changes, deletions, additions?
I never received the minutes in my packet, so I'm abstaining.
Can we attest to them?
They were emailed to everybody.
Mail.
They were-
Yeah,
They emailed.
All right, well,
or emailed separately, yeah.
let's delay this until the next meeting.
It was emailed separate from the agenda.
It was emailed
Yeah,
separate from the
yes, it
agenda,
was.
yeah.
I
It
printed
was.
mine out, so.
I read it at home.
Okay.
Would I like to open up, have a motion to open up the meeting for public comment?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Bucieri. Floor is open for public for comments. Get 3 minutes on agenda items. Is there anyone wishing to come forward to address the council? Do we have anything from the skybox?
Yes, Jessica Palladini.
Mrs. Palladini?
Listening to the conversation, the discussion that you all just had, back around 2009 or 2010, there was a forensic audit and investigative report done of the town center and sewer matter. And similarly, that was a private investigation. It resulted in maybe a 60 or 80-page report, and every single word of it was made public to the public. It was paid for by taxpayer funds, as was this investigative report. I'm not taking a position one way or the other, but you voted as a council 5-0, and you are giving this mayor the authority to do things that he does not have. So my question to you is this whole issue because the mayor does not want that report made public? Is that what this is about? That's a question.
I don't know if I have an answer right now. Thank you.
You're not going to answer to
I said, I don't know if that can be answered right now. Thank you.
Well, can you ask your attorney if it can be?
I don't know how to answer that question.
Neither do I. That's why I'm saying I don't know if there is an answer for it right now. I think the council needs to deliberate on it.
Well, if it was paid for by taxpayer funds, then the taxpayers have the right to know what happened and how it happened. It's just a matter of fact. And it's unfortunate if other employees were involved or to blame in any way. But that's a report that should be made public and transparent. And that's all I have to say about it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Yes, someone in the audience.
Yes.
President.
Oh, okay.
Evening, Mr. Mayor.
Forward right to this podium right here.
Who's over here?
Okay.
My first time.
That's okay. There should be a paper that says just sign in with your name. And what agenda item are you gonna address?
I'm going to address about the investigation report.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, President, board members. Good evening, tonight. I was listening, of the conversation, and I grew up in Vernon, moved out of Vernon, lived in Kinnelon, got my first house. Said, you know what, I want to move back to Vernon because it's the greatest town, I think, in the country. But I feel that, as a member of the public, everybody needs to promote transparency and accountability. That's the most important thing. Transparency and accountability. What makes a leader is that you hold people to the standard. You make them accountable. by not releasing things, you know, it loses morale within a community and it breaks the cohesion. I served in the military, I served this country, I served it well. I was a leader, you know, and it was my job to police up my subordinates and whoever was under me. And I just think that you need that transparency and accountability. And if we're not getting it, then we lose trust. And that's important. Because at the end of the day, you know, everybody's got to work together. You know, seems like everything's divided here. This is my first meeting I've ever been to, you know, being in Vernon. I'd like to come to more. I'd like to see everybody working in partnership. And Mr. Mayor, Council, please promote that transparency and accountability to us. I think we all deserve it. Yourself as well. You know, it's the right thing to do by everybody. So whatever that needs to be released to the public, you know, it needs to be released. And I hope due process is being served in that. We should never overlook that. And that's important. Thank you.
Can I have your name and where you're from Vernon? What's your name, sir?
It's Michael Churchello.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Yes, I have, Tom McClackery.
Mr. McClackery.
Yes, okay, a quick question to the attorney. Is this report Oprah? Is this report,
Subject.
Operable?
Operable.
Yes, it's operable.
okay? And second recommendation is, I've sat through a number of meetings where the town council is gonna get the roof fixed on the municipal building. My recommendation is stop hiring the roofing company, Collanders R Us, okay? And maybe you could stop having leaks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
That was
McClackery.
clever. Thank you. Took us a second to get that, but we got it.
I have, Ann Larson.
Mrs. Larson.
Good evening. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. So I just wanted to comment on the mayor's obstinance regarding the suspension of Mr. Volkner. He has painted himself completely on an island alone with Mr. Volkner against the rest of the township. I encourage you to remember that he was not voted by a majority. Excuse me, I didn't say that right. More people voted against him than for him. He seems to think he's the king of Vernon. The council makes 5-0 decisions, and then he goes and does exactly as he pleases. He makes proposals for a compromise, and just like kind of like deja vu regarding the cannabis licenses. Oh, magically he proposed something, but he didn't really mean it. So he talks out of both sides of his mouth. This is unfair to the taxpayers who are absorbing this sum of money. The report needs to be made transparent so we can all see, and the chips fall where they may. That's what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Larson.
I have no other hands.
Seeing no other person coming forward, may I have a motion?
Okay.
Now I heard too much. You know me, I can't keep my mouth shut. Thank you, Sassy.
How are you, Mrs.?
The answer to this maybe is, since the mayor doesn't want to penalize Chuck, and since the mayor made the statement at the original meeting that the buck stops at his desk, maybe his salary should be dropped to 10,000. Just a suggestion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else?
I don't have any other hands.
May I have a motion to close the
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
motion made by Mr. Lynch, seconded by
Mr. Fury.
Mr. Fury? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Move to the consent agenda. Please advise if you would like to have any item separated, and we can vote on it separately.
Yeah, Pat. Can I have resolution 22-235 separated and 22-41?
241.
241, yeah, 22-241.
Neil? Consent agenda, resolution 22-227, refund overpayment for totally disabled veteran, block 375, lot 3, Core Lodge. Resolution number 22-228, refund overpayment, block 121, lot 8, Belmont Title and Settlement Services. Resolution 22-229, refund overpayment, block 448, lot 7, Core Logic. Resolution 22-230, refund overpayment, block 202, lot 45, Amrock. Resolution 22-231, refund overpayment, block 541, lot 7, Service Link. Resolution 22-232, refund overpayment, block 508, lot 6, for Logic. Resolution 22-233, refund overpayment, block 126, lot 11, Kevin Canova. Resolution 22-234, authorizing Verizon Wireless pursuant to New Jersey State Contract NASBO Contract Division of Purchase and Property Contract Number T216A/MA152. Resolution 22-236, resolution waiving all required application fees for the Vernon Township Police Athletic League brought before the Land Use Board. I'm going to ask that be separated. I just have one question. Resolution 22-237, resolution authorizing the sale of surplus vehicles no longer needed for public use on an online auction website.
Can I have that one removed, please?
Certainly. Resolution 22-238, authorizing the extension of award of a required disclosure contract for container service at the township's public work and animal control facilities. Resolution 22-239, authorizing the execution of an agreement between the Township of Vernon and the Township of Wantage for use of a communication tower. Resolution 22-240, a resolution authorizing emergency roof repair of municipal building facilities. And may I have a motion to place those items on the floor as listed?
I'll make that motion, Council President.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
I'll second Mr. Lynch's motion.
Seconded by Mr. Shortway. Are there any questions or comments on it? I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving to resolution 22-235, authorize the award of a professional services contract with S.L. Mikulajic. Good luck on that
That's-
one. Princeton Hydro for development of scope of work for Highlands Council grant. May I have a motion to place this on the floor for consideration?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Fury. Is
I'll
there a
second
second? Seconded by Mrs. Fury. Are there any comments on this? You brought
Yeah,
this
the
up.
only question I had
Yeah.
is, when they do this, so the question is, they get paid for the grant after they awarded by the Highlands Council. So it's not paid by the taxpayers. They do the work and then they get paid. Are there any plans on, and this is Princeton Hydro is a very reputable company. They're probably one of the best lake management companies in the entire country. So I'm pretty comfortable with Princeton Hydro, but are there any plans on them examining the impact on septic systems
Yes,
on the eutrophication process of the lakes. And to kind of like, to support some of the efforts that we're trying to make for possibly related to the septic hauler.
that will be addressed in the watershed, but they also suggested the members of the Highlands Council that we should do a separate one just on septic systems. So it wouldn't be just about the lake communities involved, but throughout the entire town,
Would have to be separate from the work they're doing on this.
separate from this.
So that won't be in this grant.
Why,
This grant is strictly for the watershed, but it will include things related to septic as well as storm water, other things that are affecting it. But they did strongly suggest a separate grant, which we will
apply for.
apply for,
Okay.
for septic systems. That's become a very big trend in the entire area.
So what they're suggesting is that the Highlands Council said if they go through this process and do this watershed plan through this grant, that it's highly likely they'll get a grant to study the septic system.
Yes,
That's what the Highlands Council said.
is that right there? In the front row here.
That's right. They promised, right? So it's not like, it's a
Well, they-
possibility.
They pointed out the ones that this gentleman has already done for. He did it for Ringwood, he did it for Byram, he did it for Rockaway.
Oh, I'm not, I'm very comfortable with Princeton Hydro. And that was the one of the.
But he did all those the same way, pro bono, with the, to do the scope of work to submit, and then he would get paid on the back end.
Any other questions?
That's it. Thank you.
May I have a roll call, please?
Vice President Bruce Perry,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolution 22-236, a resolution waiving all required application fees for the Vernon Township Police Athletic League incorporated before the Vernon Land Use. May I have a motion to place that on?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Made by Mrs. Bucieri,
Seconded by me.
seconded by Mr. Fury.
Yep.
Okay. The only question I have is, it's a great undertaking. I was just curious as to the basis for funding. Does anybody know? Chuck?
They didn't discuss that with us.
No? Okay.
They just, they're just asking for that now. Presentation, if you're interested.
I'm just curious, it's a substantial amount of money and I didn't know if they had money in hand, if they're going out for fundraisers or what.
Don't know, they did have a proposal going back to when Councilman Shortway was mayor to do it in a different location. Now they're changing the location and the scope of the project to where they're moving to the back of the building, not in the front near the parking lot.
Okay. There were other questions?
No.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury.
Yes.
Member Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolution 22-237, a resolution authorizing the sale of surplus vehicles no longer needed for public use on an online auction website. May I have a motion?
I'll
Please.
make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. Questions?
Yes, I have one. Are there has there been an inventory done of the vehicles that are going to be auctioned off? Because I don't want to have another problem.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm sorry, that is connected. That's with the resolution.
Okay, is there anything new being added to this?
Mean new vehicles?
Yeah,
Mean replacing the ones that are being.
no, in addition to the ones that are on there now.
no, I think we would be allowed if we chose to add up until the time that within a certain number of days before the bid.
Would the council be notified if there's any additional additions,
Absolutely.
if there are any additions
Okay.
to this? Okay, that's the question I have.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Fury,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury.
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch.
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And lastly, resolution 22-241, a resolution designating block 525 lot 16, 161 NJSH Route 94 as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment pursuant to New Jersey Local Development and Housing Law NJSA 40A:12A-1 ET SEQ point of parentheses.
That's good.
Okay. So they have a motion to place this on the floor for consideration.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Mr. Shortway. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Fury. Questions on it?
Yes, when we heard the presentation, I went through our former minutes, went through the land use board minutes, and I found it odd that we never heard who owned this property. So I did my own investigation and I looked up block 525 lot 19. This parcel is owned by Rachel Associates / Metairie. Metairie is the principal owner of Legends. The main executive is Hilly Meyer. He's the corporation's chief executive and majority owner. Myers is a timeshare pioneer who's built an extensive development and management empire. As of June 30th of this year, Metairie's municipal liens total $4,632.01. Their outside liens total almost $3.5 million, and they have not paid a dime as of last week in their municipal taxes. As of June, they owed us $233,481.96. Unpaid property taxes by Metairie affect all of us Vernon property taxpayers through the reserve for uncollected taxes, or as I've said before, and people know it as the RUT. We who fulfill our tax obligation must cover the Board of Ed and county taxes for Metairie. Now, just for example, simple math. Legends property tax is $400,000 annually. It's probably closer to $460,000, but we'll take $400,000. When Metairie does not pay their taxes, the Vernon taxpayers must cover their obligation to the county and to the Board of Ed. They get paid no matter what. That means we are paying almost $300,000 to cover them. So when we say $25,000 for a mistake here or $500 there, this town should be outraged at the $4.6 million owed us. Can you imagine what this town could do with that money? The infrastructure improvements. We could use more money from the fund balance. You would actually see taxes go down. This would be real tax relief for our people. So when I looked this up, Metairie leeches off us taxpayers. The bloodletting has to stop. I think we send a clear message to them by voting no. I think the council with the mayor, we should do everything we can to rid this town of Metairie, unless you all want to keep paying for their obligations. And it could start by doing a condemnation study to see if it would even be feasible to do it, to take it over. I doubt that deal will ever close with interest rates as high as they are right now. We've heard about it for over a year. We've heard broken promise on broken promise ever since I was mayor starting in 2016. I'm tired of paying for their tax obligations. And how do you think the seniors feel in this town when we have high inflation, high gas prices, and a lot of them are on fixed incomes? We need to give our taxpayers relief, and that's what we should target on, is getting that $4.6 million for our people. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. The reason, man.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add to that. I did read the report by the planner to the land use board, and I read it carefully. What I found disturbing was at no point in the entire report, which is taxpayers' money, there was no reference to who the actual owner of the property was. We got a presentation come in front of us and without even knowing who the owners were. And if it's true that this is indeed the owner, I support what council member Shortway says that if we didn't pay our taxes for our houses, they would take our house. If I didn't pay my taxes, you would take my house, right? Because that's what you're supposed to do. This person and this entity owes this much money and we're sitting here and not doing anything as a council. I think it's unacceptable. I think the concept of studying condemnation is a real plan. It's not to say we're going to condemn the property, but to study and see what the impact is. And to sit and to kick the can down the road for another council is unacceptable. And I will never do that as a council member because it's not fair to the taxpayers who pay their taxes religiously. And if they don't, they get their property seized. And why are we sitting on the sideline watching this company not pay their taxes? It's ridiculous. And I've been here for 30 years and I'm sick and tired of it. I've had enough of it. And I'm up here as a council member. I'll do anything I could to make this happen because it's ridiculous that this happens. And I'm serious about this, is that we have to sit here and take that as a town. It's ridiculous. $4.6 million and we're waiting for this to close. They've been promising this for 2 years and nothing has happened. This council should do something about it. Take some action. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Yes,
Mr. Mayor, do you have any information you could share with us about the legend? About anything that would be promising for us?
No,
current status,
excuse me.
current status.
I don't have anything additional. I've been waiting for Legends to close.
Mhm.
Now, Legends is different from this particular piece of property here, but
I
the
understand.
owners are in common.
I
I think that's
I
what Mr.
understand.
Shortway is saying. Yeah, but I've had so many closing dates until I'll just wait and see.
I know you're frustrated too.
Yeah,
I
you
understand.
know,
The Metairie Corporation has been sending us letters since 2010.
Yeah. It was
Harry, when we were first on,
force
they were
majeure.
sending us letters back in 2009 that they needed an extension.
Right, and they have done.
And,
They paid 1 year because of the ABC, remember?
right,
And they're back to their old story.
Where is this piece of property?
It's on Route
1294.
94.
Off 94. It came in front of us.
The only thing I
That was
would
the one
caution
by the horse-
this is that
The horse-
The engineer and a lawyer.
these
Yeah,
are,
yeah.
these are two separate pieces of property. My latest information is that, they are seeking financing. Matter of fact, I was told that it's pretty much done, but, I was
Yeah.
told that 7 times ago. So the other thing is that the resolution on this one, on 241, is an entirely different issue. And I can understand your frustration. I share it. I thank Mr. Shortway for bringing the ownership issue to light. I question why our planner didn't do it. I think that was an essential piece of information that should have been given to us. We can handle 2 ways. We can, move to table this until further information, or we can simply act on it. Acting on it would take one of us to be able to bring it up again, who did not vote in the affirmative, but, or I'm sorry, in the negative. And I feel perhaps it might be beneficial if we gave the planner some time to come back to us on this and give us a little background information.
Yeah, but Pat, but that planner did a presentation to the land use board and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty certain that got approved by the land use board. They brought it to the land use board and it was approved.
Right.
They approved something.
Yeah, the
Well, they
land use board
approved the plan.
authorized
They didn't know it
Jessica to
was
conduct a
Metairie.
preliminary
I-
investigation.
That's
the owner was listed as HMGG.
But that's not what the tax records show.
Yeah, that,
There's
Well,
2
I-
lots under consideration for development. This lot is owned by Rachel /
yeah.
Metairie.
I guess my point was the land use board aware of that? That's.
Maybe not.
That was.
Maybe
my-
not.
We don't know.
Maybe they weren't, and that's what's disturbing to me too.
Sure.
Mr. Shortway uncovered some very important information, and quite frankly, I thought it was HMGG, based on what I was told, and quite frankly, I did not do the work that you did. And that's a whole different situation. It really is. What you brought up was really makes a big difference.
I mean, I'll vote yes when they sign over $4.6 million to the people in this town. Then they'll hear a yes vote from me. Besides that, I'll always vote no on them.
Mr. Zelinski, you got something?
No, my understanding is the land use board approved this area to be declared an area in need of redevelopment. And now they're, as part of the statutory process, asking the council to also declare the area to accept their recommendation.
That's why I'm asking, perhaps we should table it until we get some further information on this.
And Josh, I just have a question. Approving it to go down to DCA to be for the final approval
DCA, it'll only go to DCA after the council acts.
After,
after the council acts.
okay.
And that would help, if we approve this, that would help Mattery. Because they wanted redevelopment on this
I
property.
don't think it would hurt them.
Right, so that's my point. I'm not doing anything that favors them till I see $4.6 million to the people in this town.
Do I hear a motion to table or do you want to proceed to vote?
I'm ready to vote, but whatever the council majority wants.
In order to bring it back up,
Yeah.
whoever the winning vote.
Yeah.
Someone from that side would need to bring it back up, which I think.
Someone who votes in the affirmative to table it.
Table it, right?
Make a motion to table.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch to table.
I want this to be known that we are going to talk about this at the next meeting.
Well, certainly, and I think the essence of this is that let's get a hold of Mrs. Caldwell and find out, why we weren't told on this.
I'm in favor of Harry. I agree with you that the taxpayer has been put on hold from the Metairie Corporation in this town for over 15 years. And it's time that we do our job and get our money. If this was $4.6 million that somebody else had or Mountain Creek had, we would be going crazy on them right now.
Okay, the motion has been made to table. Stop all
Sorry.
discussion.
Sorry, I'll second that.
Seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. Roll call, please.
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
No,
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
Yes,
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries to table.
Um,
No
let's
later.
stay on this for a little bit longer with regards to the legend. I was on the council, Mr. Lynch, way back when we had talked about this and there was talk of condemnation. And, it was a hammer we kept banging the table with. And nothing had been done. And then things changed and now perhaps there's a little bit more interest, but due to the current financial situation, it's maybe becoming a little bit more problematic for the owners. The point that I want to just caution the council is kind of like grabbing a tiger by the tail. Once you have it, what do you do with it? Once we condemn and we own this piece of property, what do we do with it? I mean, I don't believe we're looking to develop a hotel or residency or whatever. And I think, on that basis, we need to look at a way of perhaps seeing if we can't contact the people who are moving this along and seeing if there's some way that we can get some definitive timeline to possibly look at towards the end of this year. I don't know how many people I've talked to. Oh, that would make a great, assisted living facility. Oh, that would make a great college. That would make a great whatever, that we had, the possibility of a water park. But all of these things would make a great, but councils and townships don't develop something like that. And
I hear you.
so my question is, if we were to do this, what do we do with it? So I think, perhaps this is something that the mayor could look into, come back to the council and, provide some guidance in terms of a timeline. That,
For the possible closing.
closing or whatever,
But
yeah, I guess so, for the closing.
since I was mayor, I don't know how many times I got a date they were closing.
Well, but the
Okay.
time that I've been on the council, for this time, I think I've had 6.
And that's why I've been asking for a study. What does it encompass? What would the cost be to do this? I mean, you'd end up auctioning it. We're not going to develop it. But that might prompt them later on because they're going to lose money. They're going to probably be paid pennies on a dollar now.
Yeah.
But we need an expert study to show us what is the best way to go. This has just lasted we're talking probably 2 decades. I mean, how much longer? I'll be dead before this thing sells.
Yeah, and it's hard to influence a real estate transaction by asking for a timeline. They're a private entity and they can, they could.
It's also,
they can
when you
take their
start
own time.
condemnation proceedings, you kind of rock any real estate situation too.
That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do.
Well, yeah, but the issue is where do you wind up? So.
Yeah, well, that's what we have to study and have somebody, an expert like Harris is somebody to study it.
They might say, no, do not do condemnation.
Right.
But that's what I mean. I think we need to actually take out, I think if we had to spend $10,000 to do a study to get $4.6 million, our options, that's a good investment. I don't know what the study would cost, but I'm just throwing a number out there.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Anything else? Moving
That's
on.
it.
Moving on to ordinances, introduction of ordinances 22-19. An ordinance extending lease agreement between Vernon Township Board of Education and the Township of Vernon, and the sublease agreement between the Township of Vernon and Dog Owners Gathering Society of Vernon Township Incorporated for certain unimproved real property identified on the official tax maps of the Township of Vernon as block 308, lot 2, old lot, block 133, lot 2.05. May I have a motion to introduce this ordinance 22-19?
I'll make that motion, Council President.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
Can I just have a point of order?
Sure.
Did we introduce this last meeting?
What happened is the Board of Ed approved a different lease term.
Okay,
So it's a.
that's what the clarification. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
They were up to 3 years.
Yes.
So you need a second?
Yes,
I'll second it.
thank you. Since this is a first reading, we'll only have a roll call, please.
Sure. Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury,
Abstain.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Carries.
Ordinance 22-20, an ordinance to amend supplement the code of the Township of Vernon, Chapter 350, long-term rentals. May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 22-20?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Fury. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Shortwood. Roll call.
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury.
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Member Shortway,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 22-21. AM ordinance to amend and supplement the code of the Township of Vernon to create chapter 167 entitled Business Insurance Registration. May I have a motion to put this on the floor?
I'll make that motion.
Motion
I'll
made by
second it.
Mr. Lynch, seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. Roll call.
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fury.
Yes.
Member Lynch.
Yes.
Member Shortway,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion.
Second readings, Public hearing, reading of ordinance 22-17. An ordinance to amend and supplement the code Township of Vernon, chapter 130, abandoned properties, unfit buildings. May I have a motion to place this on the floor for?
I'll make that motion, Council President.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Bucieri. May I have a motion to open up the floor to the public?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Shortway. All in favor to open this up to the public?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The floor is open for discussion on ordinance 22-17 and only that ordinance, tonight item. Anybody having any questions on it or comments, please come forward and make your questions known, comments known. Anything in the skybox?
I have no hands up.
Okay. Seeing no one coming forward, no.
I'll make the motion to close the public comment section of this ordinance reading.
Thank you very much.
I'll second
Thank you.
Mr. Lynch's motion.
Motion, seconded by Mr. Shortway. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. The motion is on the floor. Does any council person have any comments on it? No. If not, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Fearing,
Yes.
Councilmember Lynch,
Yes.
Councilmember Shortway,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Moving to public comments, limited to 5 minutes on any topic. Any person wishing to make their comment or ask to take their name and give us their thoughts on something, if you'd like. Please come up and address the council. Do we have anything in the skybox?
McClackery,
Mr. McClack. Mr. McClack.
Okay, is this open to the public or is this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, so I have a couple of comments on the septic system. I don't know if it's a plan or what, but basically it's been put forward that the township has the authority to order septics be pumped every 3 years. And the township does not have that authority. And you can check that out with NJSA 5810 et al. And number two is it's put forward that, this will help flow. Well, there's about 8,000 residential units. You're looking at 80,000 gallons over 3 years, or 23,000 gallons in a year, or 60 gallons a day. And that's not going to make up much of your flow deficit. And it's also been put forward that this would help pay the $500,000 increase that will occur in the bonds that were issued in 2008. We're not mentioning the bonds from 2011. 2008, we've known about this. That 500,000, if you look at how much that's going to cost a resident, the average pumping rate for a septic tank is $300. If you intend to do $500,000 a year out of those folks, you're going to pump, step it up between 900 and 1,000. And on the later stages, when the other bonds come in, you're probably looking at, within 5 years, 1,500. All of this, you can't do. West Milford, I heard that said that they did it, but you can't do it. And the reason why, your attorney will tell you after the meeting. So before you pass any resolution or ordinance on this, why don't you do a cost benefit? Anybody does, every business, every organization I know always comes out with a cost, how much this is gonna cost, and what the benefit is. Otherwise, you're just increasing everybody's costs around $500 a year. And that's my comments. Thank you very much.
I would like to address one thing. I don't know, people just like to get the cart before the horse sometimes, and this is a perfect example. I don't think anybody's made any statement that this is what we're going to do. I think everything that has been talked about so far has been on the basis of conjecture, simply conjecture. You know, and people have brought up situations with various other lake communities. I even brought it up with a situation outside the state of New Jersey. Mr. Lynch brought it up in terms of another lake community. So saying that we're going to do anything at this point is very, very, very premature. So I just don't want to have anybody get all worked up and, you know, trying to develop ways of saying no. But I think the issue does deserve and merits consideration. And at that time, all of the people who are involved in this will have benefit of counsel and will have benefit of professional services where this type of information can be fleshed out and you know, and considered against your comments. So I just wanted to assure the public, we're not telling anybody to do anything. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Michael Churchill, 51 Lakeside Drive, Northwest. This is in regards to resolution 22-235. There's no easy solution for this. You know, I just got done spending 40 grand on a Fuji tank system that's supposed to last forever, have 4 filters, you know, and a leach field that's supposed to last forever. And it's not supposed to affect anything, you know, I chose to do that. I chose to do that, you know, saved up for that, you know, chose it. We can't expect everyone to go out and get a $50,000, $60,000 septic tank. We all know this is Vernon. There's no sewer system. The lake communities, I think, Mr. Mayor, Council, I think you're extending above and beyond helping these lake community people because they have their own council, they have their own everything else. They should be doing their own legwork because the residents pay for the dues, and some communities pay high-end dues. I think the council and the mayor should be there for support. If these people want grants, you know, the lake associations, then the council and the mayor should support them and lead them in the direction. But taking the burden when they get dues, it's a form of tax. I don't get it.
Once again, I'm cautioning you. There's nothing in this particular grant that's going to affect the issue of septic. There may be a study on it, but there's nothing there that's going to come up. I've appointed Mr. Lynch and Mr. Fury to a committee to discuss this and see what's going on and report back to the council. But I think, again, we're getting way ahead of the situation.
Well, the reason why I say that, Mr. President, is because Highland Lakes last month had their own environmental meeting.
Right.
You know, my parents live up there. I'm in Lake Panorama. And, you know, I went with my mother and they were addressing this issue,
Yeah.
what to do and everything else. But
Mr. Council President, can I answer?
Sure.
I know what you're saying because I spoke to your president and before we even had any inclination of discussing this, Highland Lakes was discussing it.
absolutely.
So you know.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
All right.
And again, it's failed septic system.
Right.
Road debris that flushes into the lake, you know, and there's got to be some kind of command and control by the association themselves.
Right.
You know, you can't, these lake associations, they get dues after dues after dues annually. How can you expect the mayor and council to sit there and just go in there and while they sit and just collect? that's a burden on them as well. They have to adopt like 70, 80% of that burden to find a solution for their residents. They chose to be a lake association and incorporate themselves as such, and sitting there and I feel that they should take most of the burden. I'm not saying that, Vernon, shouldn't help, but that's got to be a burden that they got to absorb.
Not the people themselves.
No.
The HOA.
The HOA, the leadership within that, they need to take their own accountability of it. They need to do the legwork. They have to do the legwork and the support from you. Absolutely.
Mike, we all are neighbors though, and we all have to help one another. And this is not helping the lake communities as much as it would be helping the township if we
Once
were to
again,
do it.
I can only say, I know, I hear your concern. You've made a significant investment. Why would you want to be forced to do something that is totally necessary? That's all part of the considerations for anything that has to be done, or that, in terms of coming up with some type of a solution. I certainly wouldn't lose any sleep over it.
No, I know. And I want to raise I got 4 kids, I'm 44 years old. And like I said, I want them to be raised in a clean environment and, and an environment is an important subject, I don't beat it over the head. But again, I do pay lake association dues annually. And they should be the brains behind this. They should go and find the grants. It shouldn't be a municipal problem per se. It should be absorbed by them, the majority of the burden, to find a solution for their residents. Because again, we're paying lake association dues, and they should be the thinkers on it. You got more important things to worry about than sitting there and doing their jobs. They got to start putting in the effort.
Well, I think, you're right in what you're saying. And I think they are. I think they're looking out for their primary, their primary asset, which is their lake, and how to keep that lake as pristine as possible.
Right.
And so, that's what they're doing. But to the extent that they are also taxpayers in the community, they do deserve the consideration from the council as to what the council can do to help not only them, but everybody else. But right now, this is only at, speculation stage or whatever you want to call it. So as I said, I certainly wouldn't lose any sleep over it.
And I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. It's just that, every time I go to those meetings, it's like, you ever seen videos on the country Jamaica, how they cut the head off the chicken and just runs around? Well, that's the way it is at those meetings. It's like, come on, have some organization here. And let's talk about, how to make the future better rather than sitting there and just, going around in circles because, yesterday's problem is not going to be today's solution. The solutions change every day, problems change every day, and the council member even said it. It's disgusting up there. It's disgusting. Animals are dying. Plant life are overgrown, and you can just smell the stench coming from there. Not only with Highland Lakes, it's with lakes all around. So if they're not doing their job as lake association, people are going to start moving out of Vernon because of them. I'm all for you, and I honor what you said, Mr. President, about there are taxpayers and we're out for them. And yes, I get it, but these people are getting paid to do a job and to represent the people when it comes to cleanliness of that local community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Staff.
Thank you. I'm going to read my comments because I don't want to forget anything. At the August 8th Town Council meeting, Council President Rizzuto established an ad hoc committee to research the MUA issue of transfer station, sewer pumping and trucking possibilities. He appointed Mike Sherry and Brian Lynch as co-chairs. On August 22nd, a preliminary overview meeting was held at the town hall with council liaisons, Mike Theory and Brian Lynch. The MUA representatives were Dave McDermott, Paul Carney, Donnell Bright, and Steve Banowski, their engineer. James Shackle as well, who is a Dewberry project manager. For the Environmental Commission, Chair Diane Wexler attended representing myself and Craig Williams because we both happened to be away on vacation that week. It was tentatively decided to have a meeting, be a work session on September 27th. Today, I received an email. It's been rescheduled to October 3rd. This past week, Mike Ferry posted on his campaign page on public media, and I'm going to quote his post. Mr. Steve Dunlap, Brad Sparta's campaign manager, keeps on talking about every statement I make about the MUA, asking if it is a campaign issue. Well, it is. And that debt train is coming due soon. We all know that. The 3 council members that support Brad Sparta have no real, I should have put my glasses on, sorry. Have no real ideas towards a solution. I have a multi-step plan to solving the dilemma. This plan will be detailed during my comment portion of the town council meeting, the only opportunity I have to speak. If Mr. Sparta's plan is like the 3 council members, then there is no plan. Support me and I will solve the dilemma and prevent our taxes from going up. Support them and your taxes will go up. This is a bad thought of today. Having read that, I became very disturbed and I did a little research. First of all, I would like to ask Mr. Fury, why present a plan when the ad hoc committee hasn't even met? So I don't know how you could have come up with a plan without the ad hoc committee having one single work session. You should be reminded that you're not on the MUA anymore. You're a council liaison. You don't have the right to speak for the MUA. If you want to go back on the MUA, then reapply and get reappointed. I am not familiar with any council member. I'm sorry, I should restate that. The 3 council members that he refers to as supporting Brad Sparta or any candidate. So I don't know where he gets off saying the statement that our taxes are going to go up because you support Brad Sparta. That's totally misleading. In addition, I have questions about who authorized the payments for Steve Banowski, the engineer, to be at the meetings? Who authorized Dewberry and their cost? Where are these fees coming from? Who's paying for this? There's been no discussion of any of that. So where does that come up from? An ad hoc committee to review potential possibilities. It's beyond me. How is it that after serving on the MUA and resigning in December, now you are presenting a plan? Why? Where was it for the last 4 or 5 years while you were actively on the MUA? Why are you waiting now? Because it's an election week?
30 seconds.
Okay. As the MUA is self-governing and an independent agency, the proper order of any kind of presentation should be to the MUA first and the MUA coming to the council. And the reason for this is the council has absolutely no say of the MUA's operations. They are an independent agency of the township.
Thank you.
So I'm asking that it be considered to not allow Mr. Fury to make his statement that he wishes to make tonight, because I believe it is just campaigning from the dais.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Yes, I have Ann Larson.
Mrs. Larson.
Hello again. So I just had a couple of quick things, if I may. Regarding Mr. McClatchy's comments, I have to say I agree with everything he said. In reference to this issue with the sewer, council president. I know you said nothing is done yet, but the reason people overreact is because we know how heavy-handed government is. You have a thought in your head, and the next thing that we know, government's boot is on our necks, trying to strangle the people that are trying to survive. So please proceed with caution regarding any of these ideas, because the next thing you know, they are forced upon the rest of us. Regarding the Met-Airy situation, has anyone thought to call the purchasers? I mean, you mentioned speaking to Met-Airy and they're giving these responses. Perhaps our attorney should call the attorney for the purchasers and find out where they are in this process. Maybe they've moved on already. Okay, I understand there's a tax lien that the developer is holding on that property. Have we called the people holding the tax lien to find out what their expectation is? Are they expecting to close? We are a part of that transaction due to the sum of money owed to us. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Larson. Is there anyone else?
Sean Mazur.
Mr. Mazar?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay. I just want to say thank you, Pat, for bird dogging the revision of this ordinance for the vacant and abandoned properties. It's been a long time I've been addressing the council on this, and I'm happy that you all have voted for this and made this change. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Is there anyone else?
Capaladini.
Mrs. Palladini?
First, I just want to clarify something. Earlier, I asked what the mayor's reason was for refusing to follow through with the suspension. I wasn't asking your opinion or for you to give any legal advice, Mr. Zelinski. The mayor himself stated why he wasn't doing it. And I was just asking you to repeat that and clarify it. So I believe you should have responded to that question. I was simply asking for a clarification of what the mayor had said. Secondly, I want to say that the MUA is an autonomous body. I don't believe that the council can create a committee to do anything with the MUA or where the MUA is concerned. I don't know why you would have created that committee with Mike Fury, but that's just my opinion on the autonomy of the MUA and the council not having the ability or authority to do that. Lastly, I just want to thank Councilman Pat Rizzuto for fixing the illegal vacant and abandoned properties ordinance. For 2 to 3 years, I sat and I watched Mr. Mazur and other people badmouth, called horrible names, accused of all kinds of ridiculous things, and just harassed, downright harassed. And I want to thank you, Councilman Rizzuto, for having the integrity of fixing this ordinance. That's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
I don't have any other hands up.
Seeing no one else coming
I'll make the
forward?
motion. We close public comment.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second? Second, by Mr. Shortway. All in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Council comments. Guys, I'm really working, trying to get out of here, so we're good.
All right.
Council comments, can I have,
I'll go if you don't mind.
sure, absolutely.
First of all, I'd like to ask that Councilmember Fury run his campaign well without using the other council members on the dais as your reason for doing something. Pointing out that I'm for Brad Sport. I never announced who I'm for. I did say good luck to him. So I'd appreciate it if you left me out of any of your campaign rhetoric, please. For the last 45 years, I've been a firefighter here in the state of New Jersey between the towns of Secaucus and Vernon Township. 6 years ago, I was appointed as chairman of the State of New Jersey's Firemen's Association Memorial Committee. This committee met in Wildwood this previous weekend with 7,000 people in attendance. And we had 7 people who died in the line of duty this year in the state of New Jersey. And we honored them and we honored their families. The reason why I'm saying that is because next week, in October, the first week of October starts Fire Prevention Week. And I'm asking everybody in Vernon Township to fire safe their home. Number one, the best thing to do is to check the batteries in your smoke detectors. I know that a lot of smoke detectors are hardwired, but they still have battery backup. And every time you change the time on your clock, you change the batteries in your smoke detector and or CO detector. And they are not CO2 detectors. They are called CO detectors. Because CO2 is what everybody breathes out. And CO is not what you want. Carbon monoxide instead of carbon dioxide.
Scientist.
The Highland Lakes Fire Department is holding a beefsteak on November 12th. The first time in 2 years. This is a big thing. The Highland Lakes Fire Department has the best beefsteak in the state of New Jersey.
I don't disagree.
And in April or May, we haven't nailed down a date yet. The Dogs of Vernon are going to be holding their beefsteak at the Highland Lakes Fire Department because they have the best beefsteak in the state of New Jersey. So with that being said, thank you very much for your time, and I am done.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch.
Let's go Giants.
Moving along.
Yeah, I was going to take up my time. I want to read the MUA chairperson, Paul Carney, at the last MUA meeting. He made some comments, and I just want to read it for the council. And it was in reference to the mayor and the MUA not accomplishing anything for the last 6 years. I was recently asked by a neighbor about comments they heard at a council meeting that I personally did not hear, but feel they need to be addressed. The comment, as I heard secondhand, was it seems as if the MUA hasn't accomplished anything over the last 6 years or so. I feel I need to address this statement. One issue that is stalled and maybe seemed to still be that on a casual observers is the expansion of the sewer service area. After not being satisfied with the pace of progress, the MUA changed engineering firms. Currently, any lag in forward motion sits squarely in the lap of Trenton and the DEP. The MUA, the township, or the engineering firm can only do so much without receiving the go-ahead from the state's regulatory body. We are currently having regular meetings with the DEP with the expectations that the expansion area will be settled soon. As for fiscal responsibility, the MUA agreements is far from ideal. There is a large amount of debt that has to be paid, and the entire MUA staff and Board of Commissioners has done the following to save money, which in turn could be used towards the debt. Over 700 unit EDUs, the calculated method for billing was found to be incorrect. The MUA corrected this, resulting in over 110 additional EDUs. This would have been $158,763 in user fees in 2000 alone. The adjustment for the third and fourth quarter will bring that amount to $79,000. Why these calculations were done this way, the current board does not know, but in a 10-year period, it's well over $1 million in lost fees that are now being collected. The VFW situation was an embarrassment to the community, has been in the press. This board met with the VFW, had a simple conversation, and they connected. This resulted in $1,400.43 in 2022 coming in. In 2019, the MUA paid out $200,000 in shared services with the DPW. In 2020, the MUA changed the procedure by hiring part-time workers and its own licensed operator. 2021 was the first year it produced a saving of $115,000. 2 properties were hooked up, Green Realty and the Failing Building, which a total of $14,000 in connection fees plus EDUs. MUA changed service agreements for the finance and administration, saving over $30,000 a year. Assumed EDUs for the future. Housing of 55 one-bedroom units rated at 33 EDUs equates to 44,000 in user fees. The MUA is working with other proposed developers along the Route 94 corridor. Mountain Creeker is required to pay for the renovation of Pump Station 2 as required in their 2019 agreement. It should be known that since the 2019 agreement, Mountain Creek has paid their financial obligations not only on time, but early. The MUA has received Township Center designation from the State Planning Commission in 2021. As it currently stands, these properties could bring in over 1,000 connections. EDUs are not known at this time. Should this development happen, it could result in 600 to possibly 1,000 EDUs, depending on the usage of the properties. The MUA has requested federal funding to cover the cost of expansion. There are early discussion of possible development, but it's too early to speculate on them. These savings may not seem large, but when added together, it comes to a yearly savings of almost $335,000 per year. With the debt and payments that are looming, the MUA will continue to try to save money wherever possible, as well as grow the system to create more revenue. I, along with all the MUA personnel, try to be positive and do the right thing. Each and every one of us was not on this MUA when poor financial deals and decisions were made, but we collectively feel it's our obligation to fight this uphill battle and continue being fiscally responsible and try to move forward and grow, because growing the system is the only thing that be save it from financial disaster and the debt failing back to the town and the Vernon Township taxpayers. Thank you.
I appreciate you bringing Mr. Carney's words to the council. I would have wished that Mr. Carney had come to the
I
council.
wish he would have talked too.
And and it's only a matter of a phone call to the clerk or myself or to the mayor, and it could have been arranged.
Yes,
Thank you very much. Mr.
no problem.
Mr. Fury,
Thank you, Pat.
sorry,
That's okay.
No comment.
no comment. I have no comment too, because I want to go home.
Did you forget about me?
Oh, please, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, what about me? Oh my gosh. Okay. During the council comments of August 22nd meeting, I made a comment referencing the increase of emergency room visits due to cannabis overdose. Later that week, both Mr. Fury and Mr. Shortway reached out to me asking for supporting studies for that data. I supplied several, and later that week, Mr. Shortway shared information regarding several issues on his Facebook blog, The Vernon Post. He referenced my comments, one of which was my use of the word overdose. Yes, I did state that there has been an increase in emergency room visits due to cannabis and cannabis overdose. Per the National Institutes of Health, an overdose is when you take more than the normal or recommended amount of something, often a drug. An overdose may result in serious harmful symptoms or death. The NIH goes on to say that an overdose may be mild, moderate, or serious. Webster's defines overdose as too great a dose as a therapeutic agent, also a lethal or toxic amount of drug. When someone uses recreational marijuana, the desired result is to be high. If the user begins hallucinating, becomes psychotic, or experiences extreme vomiting, known as cannabinoid hyperemesis, I could be pronouncing that wrong, and then they seek care at an emergency room, they are experiencing cannabis overdose. You may not like the word overdose, but it's the correct word to use when someone has taken more than the recommended amount of a drug. Some may think that word is too harsh, and that's okay. We're all free to have our own opinions, but you cannot change language or definitions to make something more palatable or to fit your narrative. Regarding the increase to ER visits due to cannabis, I did find several articles citing various studies supporting my comments. Unfortunately, the Center for Prevention and Counseling did not respond to me when I asked for their supporting documentation. In a study published on the NIH website, the National Institutes for Health, ER visits for use in Ontario, Canada were examined. From 2003 to 2017, when cannabis became legal in Canada, in that province, visits to the ER for those aged 10 to 24 increased fourfold. That's 4 times. I shared that report with both Mr. Shortway and Mr. Fury. In a Colorado study, researchers found a 3-fold increase of ER visits between 2012 and 2016. Recreational marijuana became legal in Colorado in 2014. While doing this research, I found several articles. I won't bore you with all of them, but I did find some interesting statistics. The Rocky Mountain High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Strategic Intelligence Unit, that's government for you, that's the name of this unit, released a report dated September 2018. Recreational marijuana was approved in 2014 in Colorado. That report showed that since recreational marijuana was legalized, marijuana-related traffic deaths increased 151%, while all Colorado traffic deaths increased 35%. Huge increase of those related to marijuana use. Since recreational marijuana was legalized in Colorado, traffic deaths involving drivers who tested positive for marijuana more than doubled from 55 in 2013 to 138 people killed in 2017. This equates to 1 person killed every 2.5 days, compared to increasing to 1 person, it increased from 1 person killed every 6.5 days to 1 person killed every 2.5 days. The percentage of all Colorado traffic deaths that were marijuana related increased from 11.43% in 2013 to 21.3% in 2017. That's almost double. I realize that I'm in the minority in this council and that our town will have a retail cannabis business. I can respect others' views, and I'm happy to discuss this in a respectful manner. I won't debate views on Facebook or post opinions on forums where others cannot comment. Those are my comments for tonight.
Thank you. And again, my apologies.
I don't know.
Yes.
Mr. Council President, I want to make one statement. There was a suggestion during public comment that the vacant and abandoned property ordinance was amended because it was illegal. The ordinance was amended to comply with state legislation enacted in 2021, specifically Public Law 2021, Chapter 44, which became effective in January and required municipalities with vacant and abandoned property ordinances to make certain amendments this year. So that is why the ordinance was amended.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And seeing nothing,
You're it?
Huh?
You have a comment?
no,
He wants to go home.
In the end.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made, second.
Bye.
Yes.
All in favor, signify by saying
Aye.
aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya. Have a good evening, Mayor.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, everybody.